Hi there, I'm Chris. Welcome to Film Dweeb. This is my review of Dune Part 2, and we'll see whether or not I got one of the Wormussie buckets. I'll keep this review short. There's a million other reviews out there, but I'm going to take this from the perspective of somebody who recently just reread the book, the first Dune book. I'm in the middle of reading the second one, and I was really excited to see this, and so I booked my tickets way ahead of time. And it does not disappoint. The first one got you into the point of view of Paul Atreides, going from this naive young man entering this new world, being told he's genetically bred to become this leader. And when he enters this desert planet, we start to slowly see from his perspective how the spice is affecting him. And the first movie ended with him wandering off into the desert with the Fremen tribe. And throughout the whole thing, you can see premonitions of what he's seeing and such. So the second film picks up right where the first one left off. And they're basically like a band of rebels who are using guerrilla warfare to take down Sardaukar forces, who are the Imperial Emperors. It's almost like his personal military force, and they're known across the galaxy as the most fierce fighters. Everyone's terrified of them, but they're being taken down. They are fierce fighters that are overtaking the Sardaukar because they are in the Fremen's homeland. So when you're on Arrakis, you can't use your shields, and the Fremen take full advantage of that. Paul is with Chani and his mother, and it slowly shows their integration into Fremen society, and it jumps right into the whole thing where Jessica becomes a reverend mother of the Fremen, and she, of course, is going to prolong this prophecy for the Fremen. And so the Fremen are divided between the North and South. The South don't believe in it, but the North do, or vice versa. I can't remember. You got to correct me on this. But Javier Bardem's character, Stilgar, who's the leader of the Fremen, he believes that Paul is There's so many different names. Kwisatz Haderach, Mahdi. I forget what the Fremen call their Messiah, but he believes he's this prophesized leader. So a lot of the first part of the movie is just showing like Paul as a fish out of water. And it jumps right into the whole training Paul how to ride the worms. And then from there, of course, Lady Jessica becomes the Reverend Mother after drinking the water of life, which is basically, I think it's sandworm blood, maybe. And it's a very dangerous thing to do. A lot of people don't survive, but she survives. And then she gets them to extract some more so that Paul can take it, which is forbidden. And he manages to survive, but he's saved by Chani. So what this sequel does more than the first one is show more of that dreamlike state. The further Paul goes into the desert, the more ethereal the whole movie becomes. And you got a glimpse of it at parts in the first movie, whereas the first one was concerned with a lot of politics. This one is all about losing yourself in the desert. And they're going into no man's land where nobody's expected to survive except the Fremen. Stylistically, it's identical to the first movie. For a lot of the first part, they really focus on the eclipse as a symbolic of what's happening to Paul, and maybe what's happening to the galaxy in general. Because there are parts in the beginning where on Arrakis there's an eclipse and everything looks kind of day for night almost. It's got this really orange hue. And then there's a sequence on the Harkonnens planet. And it's a huge arena where we meet Fayed. All these names, man. Raban's brother, who's poised to take over Arrakis. And he's a psychopath. And that whole sequence was shot in infrared. So it's like this stark black and white kind of look to it. For the rest of this review, it's a really good movie. It's epic. It's a lot bigger feeling than the first movie. And most of it is because of the huge Arakian invasion by the Fremen, which is pretty close to the book. And it's just as spectacular as you imagine it, where they use the storm as a cover to ride in and take over where the Emperor has shown up. And the Baron Harkonnen has gone to meet the Emperor. And it's the big showdown between Paul and Fayed. But there's a lot of changes from the book that they left out. And I can see a lot of Dune nerds are going to be really mad. I didn't mind. One of them was we didn't get to see Dr. Keen's encounter with the Jinn, the whole hallucination that Dr. Keen's has. We don't find out that Chani is Dr. Keen's daughter. Thufir Hawat, I thought he would show up again just because of Paul's awkward hug with him in the first movie. He's nowhere to be seen. And he played a big part in the book for that second half. There's no Aliyah. She's not born yet. And Chani and Paul don't have the Leto Jr. That's major. I was expecting there to be a first half of the movie as Paul integrating into Fremen society. And I thought it would jump forward. I think it's 3 years in the book, 3 or 5 years. So Aliyah's born, his son is born, advanced as a Fremen leader, and the whole politics where nobody thinks he's still alive. And then there's the big showdown where Aliyah kills the Baron Harkonnen. Yeah, so the movie's not bad in that regard. Like, the way it plays out, there's no time jump. It's just Paul has this showdown at the end, but there's going to be a lot of mad nerds. But what I can say is this movie, you got to see it on the big screen. It's an epic sci-fi classic. The original book is dense with tons of characters and lots of things going on, so it takes a few readings to get through. So Dune Part 1 and 2 basically encompass the first book, but they made some major changes for the second half. I think what's going to happen is a lot of fans of the book are going to be turned off by the second movie. But the second movie is going to turn a lot of people onto the books. And they're going to be surprised the differences that are in the book. So for the third movie, the way the book ends is Lady Jessica talking to Chani and saying that the role of a concubine, basically the side chick, but yet look how powerful Lady Jessica has become. And you don't get any of that. You just show Chani as this jilted ex at the end. But I kind of liked it at the same time. Just the last few moments, Paul Atreides has become everything that Chani has feared. And he's got too much power. And he takes one last look at her and she walks out. And she goes back into the desert. It's really beautifully shot. The way it was done and edited, and the music was amazing. It was a real emotional powerhouse. And it was very dreamlike, like I said, ethereal. Stylistically, a lot of it was the same as the first movie, but it went more into that desert that you're losing yourself in this barren landscape. And the moment where Stilgar tells Paul to look out for the Jinn, which are, in our world, is an actual legend in the Middle East, that there's these demons in the desert that'll trick you like changelings. And that's what it feels like going into this movie, is that it's going to trick you. And it does. But it's an amazing spectacle. And those scenes where they're riding the worms into Arakian in the storm, it reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road. It's like that level of action. But Denis Villeneuve, he's very talented, where he can combine the kind of ethereal drama mixed with kind of tense action. Sicario was one of those, like a beautiful looking movie, but intense. This wasn't as intense or violent, but it was more in the fear of what Paul is about to become and the power he beholds, all being manipulated by his mother. It was like very Shakespearean. That's my review for Dune 2. Go see it on a big screen. And I didn't get the popcorn bucket, the Wormussie bucket, because they all sold out the first night. Can you believe it? I was there the third day. I thought for sure there would be some left. So there's a lot of people out there with some buckets. Okay, thanks. Dweeb out.